Good morning, everybody. Afternoon. Thank you all for being here for this last meeting with the International Autumn Schools organized by IULM University. Today we will speak about neuromanagement and the application of neuromarketing. So I just want to remind you that if you have any question, you can type them in the chat, in the YouTube chat, so that we can answer them at the end of this session. And thank you again for being here. And I leave the floor to Professor Russo in order to start this session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to this last lesson. I want to spend 5 minutes in order to introduce me and my colleagues, Professor Giorgio Gabrielli, one of the main experts in Italy of neuromanagement. Today we'll talk about a very new area for us, but for the world, I think is very new, because we talk about the application of the neuroscience in the management area. So I want to share my screen and in order to share my presentation. Anyway. Okay, today we will talk about the neuromanagement, the application of neuromanagement, why it's important to use the knowledge of neuroscience and the application in a very traditional field like the management. And the first part of this presentation, this lesson, we will talk with Giorgio Gabrielli about the neuromanagement. And then I will talk about the application, one of the main applications of neuromanagement, the neuromarketing and a new area, neurogastrophysics. It's a very, very intensive presentation about the application of consumer neuroscience in some traditional field like marketing and gastrophysics and gastronomy. This is a very interesting area in our university, but I think is a very interesting area for a lot of new universities that are using this new knowledge in order to have better information about the decision making, about the consumer behavior, about the efficacy of advertising, about the efficacy of the strategy for better collaboration with collaborators and so on. But we will talk about that. My name is Vincenzo Russo. I'm professor of consumer psychology and neuromarketing. I'm a psychologist, and I use it a lot, traditional instrument, in order to understand the decision making of the people, in order to understand the real motivation that we have in consumer and consumer behavior. But for a long time, I used only the traditional instrument like a questionnaire or interview or focus group in order to understand the real motivation. And but some years ago, particularly in 2008, I founded one of the main laboratory for neuromarketing in Italy, and with a collaboration with different big companies and important university too, like the MIT of Boston and Polytechnic of Milan, in order to have more information and more competencies in the biomedical engineering and so on. And we will talk about the application of the neuromarketing and the neuromanagement too, that we have in this center of research, in this lab. The beginning was a simple laboratory, and now is a very big center of research with 11 people that work with me. Today we start with a presentation about neuromanagement by Giorgio Gabrielli. Maybe Giorgio, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Vincenzo, for your introduction. I'm Giorgio, and I'm living in Milano. I have a Master of Arts in Philosophy and a PhD in Human Interactions. I spent all my life in working in organization, in national and multinational companies. And but my passion is university, stay with students, and I'm very lucky because I run 3 courses in IULM University. Neuromanagement is one, and I have other tools that are managing yourself and psychology of relations. And neuromanagement subject, in neuromanagement subject, we are the only university in Italy that is running this course for students, and so we are a little bit ahead to other competitors, so to other universities, and thanks to the lab founded by Vincenzo, we are a step forward in our experimentations and in papers published and in what we do in neuromarketing especially. And with Vincenzo, we are opening a new path in neuromanagement, and every field that neuromanagement has can develop, and we can see in my presentation in a few minutes. Thank you, Vincenzo.
Okay, we have also important introduction about neuromanagement from one of the main experts in this field, Professor Qin Shoma of the Zhejiang University in China. He was the founder of the first laboratory for neuromanagement in the world, and he was the author of one of the main publications in this field. The paper was published in 2006, and we'll talk about that. And now we have a very strong link with the laboratory of Zhejiang University, of Professor Qin Shoma. Qin Shoma is a very important person in this area because he is professor of neuromanagement in Zhejiang University. He is the coordinator of another lab in neuromanagement and neuromarketing in Ningbo University, and he also vice director of Academy of Management Science and Engineering in China. And he's a very important role inside the Chinese Society of Technology and Economics. So we have the opportunity to talk with him many times, and we had the presence of this professor in our university as a visiting professor 3 years ago, if I remember correct. And for this lesson, he had some problem for the participation, particularly for the time that in this moment in China is night, and he had some problem to stay with us. But he sent a video, very short video, about the introduction of neuromanagement. So maybe we can start with this video, and then we talk about the neuromanagement.
Hi, everyone. It is my pleasure to give my viewpoints of neuromanagement to cinema. First, I want to discuss with you is about what is the neuromanagement. Based on the definition I proposed in 2006, and I made some modification in 2016, and I sent it to the National Nature Science Foundation of China. The definition of neuromanagement is that it is a scientific system which uses theories, methods, and technologies of neuroscience to study the management problems and its internal mechanism to discover the new rules, new theories in management, as well as apply them to economical, managerial, cultural, and social activities to improve the satisfaction of the person being served and the efficiency and safety of the activities. Of course, this program is worth to discuss further. The branches of neuromanagement should include, but not limited to, the following fields. The first one is neuromarketing. The second one is disease neuroscience. The third one is neurofinance. The fourth, neuroindustrial engineering. Fifth, neuroinformation system. Sixth, neurohuman resource management. It should include neuroleadership. The seventh, neuroproject. The eighth, neuroinnovation. The ninth, neuroentrepreneurship. Of course, the neurokinematics is also one of the branches. Among these branches, neuromarketing at least including the following two aspects. First one, from the consumer perspective, we can explore the neural basis of typical consumer behavior, such as the consumer attitudes towards the brand, the perception of advertisement, and how much money the consumer willing to pay to buy a product. Second, from the perspective of the forms, we can, based on the neuromechanism of consumer behavior, find out the more attractive advertisements, the new strategies, policies, and methods to get better results the firms want to get. I remember Dr. Recorder want to study the neural basis of the perception of different movies trailers. This is a good topic. I hope him success. In addition to the design of advertisement and the design of the movies trailers, we can also pay attention to the neuroindustrial design. It may have close relationship with yours. Have a good day and good health, especially during the epidemics. Bye.
Okay, the neuromanagement, as you can understand, is a very complex field, and we will try to explain better which are the main application of neuromanagement and why we have to use the knowledge of our brain in order to improve the communication, the interrelationship, and so on. I want to share again my desktop. Okay, and I want to say that in this moment we are working a lot with a group in China with the coordination of this professor, in order also to have a to the end, maybe of the before the next summer, a volume dedicated to neuromanagement and neuromarketing, one of the main scientific journal in the world, very important for the psychology, but also very important for the communication. Maybe you know the frontiers of psychology or frontiers of communication. And in this moment, with Professor Quinn Choma, other three colleagues, one from Copenhagen Business School, another one from Shanghai University, we are working in order to collect the main publication about neuromanagement and neuromarketing in order to share this knowledge using this very, very famous channel. Anyway, maybe we can start with the presentation of Professor Giorgio Gabrielli in order to understand better what is neuromanagement, the meaning, and the application of neuromanagement.
Okay, thank you, Vincenzo. And shall we start with neuromanagement? What is, where it's coming from, and why we are studying neuromanagement in IULM University? First of all, let me say that neuroscience has become increasingly interesting in the world. Every month, let me say, every week, there are many books published on neuroscience. And as you can see in this chart, there are many that are speaking about selling, persuasion, marketing, influence, purchase, education, the explanation of the brain, the culture, everything. So studying neuroscience and how neuroscience could be helpful for every activity of us as humans is now the most important thing to study in university. As Professor Ma said, this is a picture that I took when he came to IULM University, and in 2006 he was the first to coin this definition, this name, neuromanagement. And this paper was published in one of the top journals in China, that was Management World, and the title of the paper was Cognitive Neuroscience, Neuroeconomics, and Neuromanagement, because he divided neuromanagement from neuroeconomics for the first time. And this is not because he would like to imitating neuroeconomics. Neuroeconomics was coined from Professor Smith, the Nobel Prize winner in 2002. And in 2002, he was speaking for the first time about neuroeconomics. And neuroeconomics is concerned with studying the connection between internal order of mind and our behavior in three different ways: individual decision-making, social exchange, and institutions such as markets. So Professor Ma gave us a definition before. I would like to go a little bit deeper on this. For him, he's applying neuroscience, and for us now, is applying neuroscience and neurotechnology. Is important, neurotechnology, because as Professor Russo said, in our lab we use many instruments in order to have the best experience in our experimentation, and to study management issues and to find out new rules of management. We would like to understand new rules and what's going on during our activities when we are working, and to build up new theories of management. Professor Ma says that neuromanagement is a cross-discipline based, he says, in four disciplines. Neuroscience first, of course, cognitive science, very close allied in this activity, psychology, and management. Let me add other three subject that I think could be useful to have aside, and are philosophy, anthropology, and of course sociology. Which are the goals of neuromanagement? The first one is to explore the neural basis of typical behaviors in management activities. In this chart, we see some example like consumer behavior, and Vincenzo just spoke about this, attitude towards a brand, perception of an advertising. But most important in neuromanagement, and what we study in neuromanagement subject in university, are preference on risk investment, manager behavior, so the manager in his activity, intent of collaboration, working group, for example, and decision under pressure. And we'll see how this is important in neuro leadership. And the second one is to find out new strategies, of course, new policies, regulations, institutions, and methods to get better results. So we are working every day in companies or as entrepreneurship to reach our goals and to add value to our shareholders. So neuroscience could be very helpful to understand how our behavior is correct and aiming the targets that the company has. The scope of neuromanagement, how many branches neuromanagement could have? A lot. And we can see here some, but we can add more and more. The first one is neuromarketing, and Vincenzo spoke about, and also Professor Ma in 2016 divided neuromarketing from neuromanagement. And second is the decision neuroscience, neurofinance, neuroindustrial engineering, neuroinformation system, neuroproject management, neuroproduct management, production management, neurohuman resources management, and he says including neuroleadership. I'd like to divide neuroleadership from neurohuman resources management. David Rock in 2009 was the first naming neuroleadership as a new subject. Neuro-operation management, neuroinnovation, of course, neuroentrepreneurship, because we don't speak enough about entrepreneurship in the universities, especially in Italy. I think we would push more and more on this topic, and as you can see, more and more. But how can we divide neuromanagement and neuroeconomics? Well, what are problems does the neuroeconomics concern? As we can see here, and we know, probably you know already, in the classic study of economics, the Homo economicus in Latin, so the economic man, had a basic hypothesis that was that we are selfish first and rational second. So the cornerstone of economics was this hypothesis that is selfish and rational. But thanks to behavioral economics, this is not true. We found out that it's not true, because we are not selfish every day in every moment, probably not too much, but we are altruistic, and in most situations people are bounded rational and more probably irrational in our behavior. So what the neuroeconomics has to do is to study how we are selfish, but how we are altruistic, and has to study how we are rational and how we are bounded rational, and or most of the time, irrational. So in neuroeconomics, we have to study neural substrates of our behavior. And what Professor Ma says, and neuroeconomics researchers are saying, that is not enough, because in neuroeconomics we have to build up new economic theory, and there are a lot that are publishing a lot of papers on this way. So where are differences? So it's easy. Neuroeconomics is on the left, and they are studying altruistic behavior versus selfish, bounded rationality versus complete rationality, preferences, swap, and as you can see, neuromanagement on the right side is dividing with neuroeconomics only two topics: decision neuroscience and neurofinance. All the rest is inside neuromanagement subject, and this is very important for us. As Professor Mas said in the short video in 2016, neuromanagement and neuromarketing were distinguished, and we have in the business school a more and more interesting professor that are teaching neuromanagement as a tendency or direction of management science. And what we do in university and research is going in this way. So what we do in IULM University, what we do in strategic communication degree, we are focusing, of course, in neuromanagement in general, as you have seen, and we are focusing more and more in the domains of neuroleadership, because we think that you students are the future of our economy, and you, I think, are starting to reach potentially management roles, people management roles, and become the leaders of the future. To do that, you must know not only what is decision making, not only what is problem solving, but you have to understand how to make decision and how to solve not problems, but complex problems. That is different and it's very difficult, tricky. And if you don't stay cool, the second row, you can see, if you don't stay cool under pressure, this would be very, very difficult. In neuroscience, you can understand that we are covering all these topics, of course. Of course, you have to be able to collaborate with others. You must work with your team, with your peers, with your boss, and you must be able to do it. And you must facilitate change in your company. Companies are asking to the managers, to us, to change and to stay in the same path of the discover new thing, technology, digital, and everything is changing, and we must be able to change the organization and to change the mind of our people that is working with us. And how can we do? With neuroscience, and we'll see in a couple of minutes. The main difference in brain between transformational leader and non-transformational leader, for example, what is happening here, or the neural reflection on unfairness. This is an ethic problem that we have to solve. And with Vincenzo, we are working very much on this. I like a lot this topic. So how to predict the potential ability of a candidate. And we are trying to write a paper on this, and how to foster an efficient leader by using neuroscience. Why this? Because leadership, I won't go through leadership a lot because we are talking about neuro, but leadership is something that every one of us has inside. Probably we don't know in the beginning of our career or in the beginning when we are studying, but we have, as you can see here, as a wildflower. I remember when I was in a very big, huge multinational company, that we are often speak about of the talents that were in our company, about appelling them as rough diamonds. It's the same thing, and you have to flourish. You have to come out, and how can you do it to be from a wildflower a very splendid flower? This is because leadership is not defined by hierarchies, is not a given qualification. So we have to be an example for the teams that we are going to lead in our future, and we have to know neuroscience to do it. And so neuroscience is helping us to increase our understanding of leadership as an attitude, of course, and how can we build it? How can we studying it and to be the best leader in the future? In particular, the neuroleadership is the study of biological micro foundation of interpersonal influence-based relationship. Why I'm underlining this with my voice? Because leadership is relations, leadership is communication, and we have to understand, we have to learn how to relate with the others, how to behave with the others, how to communicate with the others, peers, team, bosses, clients, everyone, even in our family, for example. There are some behavior that we can do better than the others. And in this statement of Hanson and Rousseau, there is an evidence that leaders become more effective when stimulating themselves first and their teams to make a better use of the brain capacities. And we can do this studying the brain. And it's done mainly by developing high quality collective thinking. How can we do it? How we do in our university with this approach, the ball approach. So brain, we study the brain. We study how can we adapt to circumstances, and how can we lead with this new experience that we do in IULM University. Why we study the brain? Not so deeply, of course. It's not a physiology course, but the important is to understand what the brain is and how works. And the first thing to do in leadership and in neuroscience, that humans are not purely rational creatures. So there are a lot of books even on leadership, and there is something that I like a lot, is a book very important from Professor Pfeffer, Stanford University, that says that the title of the book is Leadership BS. I leave you understand what BS is. I can say it's bullshit, because a lot of things, a lot of books are speaking blah 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 about leadership, but for us, we think that leadership research have to start and end with the brain. Our thought patterns, our analytical skills, the ability to change fast and to understand the other fast, our overall influence, and persuasion power that we have with the others can be traced, of course, and forever back into the brain. And adapt. How can we adapt? There is an animal that is master on this. Can I adapt? Can I surf on the waves of discontinuity, of uncertainty? For sure you can. For sure we can. How? Thanks to neuroplasticity. This is a message of hope. And we don't know, because we don't study neuroscience, but if we do, we could really thank neuroscience, because through neuroplasticity we are able to change in our behavior when something is happening and could be tricky, something tricky, and we can change quickly, because our brain changes every single day. How this? Thanks to synapses and thanks to the entire picture of synapses that is called connectome. And we study, of course, all these things in our courses. And the leadership, we know that Google's return $500 million of about leadership and leadership in business. What is important to understand, that the people are keen to follow their leaders, both for rational and irrational reason, but the most important thing, for irrational reason. And the leader must be a leader able to leading with the unknown. And leaders can infuse stability and certainty to their teams, because irrational reasons seems to be more and more critical. Let me go to the end of the presentation. I have some points on leadership, just going a little bit running. We have synthesizing 4 main approaches on leadership styles: the autocratic controlling one, the motivational engagement, second, the transformational approach, third, and the fourth one, where we are going, is the adaptive approach. And knowing that we are adaptable animals, we can do it very well after studying what we are studying here. And which are the pillars of this approach, the ball approach. This approach won't be focused on system or the external world, of course, but is in our internal world, in our brain. And understanding how brain works, and by accepting our ability to alter how the brain reacts to stimuli, we are, for the future and forever, in better position to reflect on experience, formulate judgments, and adapt our behaviors better towards ourselves and, the most important thing, others. We study 4 pillars. We have to classify to understand this subject. The first is thinking, the second is emotion, the third is brain automation, and the fourth one is relations. Let us go through these 4, and then I give the word to Professor Russo. What is thinking? Thinking is studying our willpower. We have to maintain it and increasing every day. We must stay on the wave and pay attention to everything and how we can do it. Imagining that our brain has a limited energy, and we must be able to deal efficiently and effectively with very demanding situation, not demanding situation, very demanding situation. And if we waste in urgency or in something that is not very important, we waste our energy. We must focus every day on important topics, not of something that is not related too much to our aim, to our task, to our targets. And our most important ally must be our memory. And so we have to improve it with techniques, and we have to think how to approach the growth mindset that Professor Carol Dweck is teaching in Stanford University. The second one in emotions, probably Vincenzo will talk about emotions a lot, and we are emotional animals. We are not rational at all. And humans are not always fit for understanding and articulating their own emotions. This is the problem. And but we are move on from our emotions. No thoughts. We think that our thoughts are moving us, but are only emotions to move us in our life. And we must learn how to name them. And before, of course, name them, we must be able to recognize them. Recognizing our emotions and recognize emotions of our team, we are able, of course, to leading our teams, our peers, and let me say, also our boss, if we are able to do it, could be an arrow that we have in our day-by-day work. The third one is brain automation. We probably don't know, but we do a lot of things without 80% of our life. We do things without control. Here on the third point, you will see habits. Habits is the most efficient way for the brain to save precious energy. And we have a lot of automated responses and protocols in our brain. And our decisions and actions are primarily based on brain processes beyond our conscious control. And we have to study very, very, very well what priming effect is, and could be very helpful using it and not to be following it, but to, let me say, impose it in our team, because should be applied daily, because through priming, as a leader, you can improve productivity, creativity, and social connectivity. And last, not least, but because it's very important for the leader of the future and for the leader of today, relations. We cannot lead without relations. No leaders can inspire action if others do not connect with them, of course. And leaders have to fully appreciate the socially based origin of consciousness and how we are connected with the others. And the most important statement phrase is this one: this skill alone will dramatically increase your leadership effectiveness. We can utilize our brain for imitation, to stay closer to the person that we are talking with, and to make richer our network and our relations. That is very important in networking activity for the work environment. And we have to manage, to be able and the master to manage the art of clicking with other people. And of course, relationship, we must know this, are built and nurtured through communication. I hope my presentation was able to inform you more curiosity about neuromanagement and go deeper and deeper in this subject. And I leave the presentation to Vincenzo for the next of our section. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Giorgio. Now is more clear the meaning of neuromanagement. There are some questions. If you look in the private chat, we
Let
have.
me check. Allora. Oh, so the first question is neuromanagement another word for manipulation? Let me say sincerely, no. Because how is now well known what neuromanagement is in the study of business school, and is not to manipulate, is to, let me say, understand the others better, and to relate with them with a very, let me say, more respect and more empathy, for example. And I didn't speak about mirror neurons. That is something very important on this. I cannot do it now. And but we can understand the other better than before. And so it's not manipulating, is how to stay with others in the right way. Isn't it so challenging doing your managing while you embrace that? I don't understand this question. Isn't it so challenging to do? No, it's not so challenging. We are going ahead in our studying on neuromanagement, and is something that we are studying day by day. We have many notions more and more, and I think probably, let me say, probably is the issue of the moment. It's very fashion today speak about brain, and many companies like Prada launch something on this topic, or former President Obama launched something on the brain now, I think it's not challenging. Is interesting for us to study this. May you explain neuroperation management? Neuroperation management. I hope you know what operation means in a company, and sometimes it's the second role in a company, just below the CEO, and the CEO is running all the operation of the company, and let me say, is close to make decision making, is close to solve complex problems, is close to secure under pressure, is even close to safety in some industry where we are building something where safety is important. Is it done with the interdisciplinary? Yes, it is. It's done with an interdisciplinary approach, of course. And as I said you before, we have something about management for sure, from our experience too, and from psychology, and as I told you before, anthropology, sociology, and behavioral economics, of course. Can studying business sufficient? I don't understand your question. I would say, if you study business without neuromanagement, you are lacking of something. I think the two things could be together, and a business school without neuromanagement doesn't give you enough to understand how we are working all together. That is some negative effect on the brain metal left. There are empirical evidence show if we don't have any negative effect on the brain, on mental health in our experimentation, and because we use instruments that are very easy and not invasive of our health or our let me say, our brain, our fingers or our eyes, and Vincenzo probably will explain you which kind of instruments we use, and to give you more
indication about the
yes. And how can we do about you can do a lot of things about brain automation. You can understand which are your habits, you can understand which are your thoughts, and to priming effect, you can understand how for example, to underline which are the most important things to do today, for example, with your team, and to understand why you are doing something, you are thinking to something else, and you can understand a lot of things, and it's very useful to do it. How companies use neuromanagement. They are using neuromanagement because we thanks to Vincenzo, we are working very much with companies. The university has not found, so we must go to companies to increase our research. And they use it, especially our experience is, for example, to understand how is run an interview loop, how their interviewer are working well or not well during the interviews. And this is an example. And we are working in neuromanagement, especially in the branch of neuromarketing. A lot of companies are working with us, and especially with Vincenzo, on analyzing their advertising campaign and their marketing planning. And so we have the most important companies in Italy are working with us on this. Do they come to labs and ask for research? For sure, they are coming to us and are asking for research on their products. Always. We are the most. I don't want to say we are because Vincenzo is the founder, but we are the most important lab in Italy, and especially in the north of Italy. We are the only one, and there is another one important in Rome, and that's it. And but it's different. The private companies are coming to us. The public companies are going to Rome, and but this is. Of course, because the economy in Italy is divided from the north to the center and south, and this is why. That you recommend for neuro management, neuro leadership? Yes, I have one, but I have in the other room, and in a few minutes I'll give you. I can write it down on the because I remember perfectly because it's the book on our course, and I give you all the details on the chat right now. Thank you for your question. Very interesting questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We will talk maybe at the end of of my presentation.
I'm going to take the book.
Yeah. Thank you. There are a lot of new
books.
Yeah, there are a lot of books about the application in neuroscience and management, neuroscience and selling, neuroscience and marketing, the neuromarketing. We will talk now the neuromarketing. So the neuromanagement is the big area. Inside you can find neuroeconomy, neurofinance, so the application for the knowledge about our brain, and in the classical area of studies. And one of the main area, of course, is marketing. And so I want to explain a little bit better the meaning of neuromarketing and which kind of tools is possible to use in order to analyze the brain of the people when they stay in front an advertising or when they take some pack in a store or when they taste something, some food. And what is neuromarketing? The neuromarketing is the use of neuroscience tools and insight to better understand and influence too the consumer behavior, consumer engagement, and the choice of the people. And in reality, the neuromarketing is a strategy to understand better the efficacy of marketing. So the ethical question about the influence of the people is linked to marketing, not to the neuromarketing. With the neuromarketing, I can reduce the waste of money when the people create bad advertising or when the packaging is not so good to attract the attention of the people when they stay in the store and so on. And is a very important strategy and methodology in order to improve improve the marketing performance. And so we work in order to improve the communication, the advertising, the branding, pricing, the packaging. The application are very. We have a huge applications of marketing, of neuromarketing. So where there is emotion, there is the neuromarketing, because it's impossible to analyze the emotion of the people using a traditional instrument like a questionnaire, like interview. If I ask to someone, what do you think, what do you feel in this moment? He reflect, he think about the feeling and give me information. But in this way, I collect information not about emotion, but only about the rationalization of the emotion. It's a completely different. So when we talk about the neuromarketing, it's important to have three big areas of knowledge that can give information, give knowledge. The behavioral economics. The behavioral economics is a very important declination of the economic, and because it is a lot of example of our consumer behavior, of our decision in during our life, and is completely different than the economic without the life, without the application in our life. Neuropsychology. Now we know a little bit more about our brain. And yes, I know that there are a lot of money and found in order to improve the brain mapping. But now we have some information about our brain. I will talk about that later. And of course, there is another very important area, cognitive neuroscience. In this area, we have more information about which part of our brain is activated when we decide something, when during our decision-making process. And consumer neuroscience is the application of this knowledge in the consumer behavior, in the consumer psychology, in order to analyze the people during their choices and so on. So, if correct to say that the neuromarketing is a very interdisciplinary approach, because we need different competencies from different scientific areas: behavioral economics, marketing, neuroscience, consumer behavior, bioengineering, technology, and communication and psychology. So in our lab, we have a very interdisciplinary group team, and with many people from marketing, many people from the engineering area, and so on. It's very difficult sometimes to talk the same language, because the meaning of arousal for a psychologist is completely different than the meaning of the arousal for the engineering. So it's very difficult to work. Anyway, I want to show you the meaning of the neuromarketing, talking about the tools that we use. We can divide the different tools that is possible to use in this field into big area, into big tools: biometrics and neurometrics. The neurometrics is linked with our brain, and biometric with our body. For example, the evaluation of our skin conductance or heart rate. This is a very important indication about the intensity of the emotion. But with the neurometrics, with the EEG, electroencephalography, it's possible to analyze which part of the brain is activated when the people talk with other people, or when we look commercial ads, and so on. So we work in different areas. We work in order to evaluate the customer experience in store, in retail. We analyze, for example, the reaction of people when staying in a digital, in a web page, and when scroll a web page, and so on. We analyze the advertising, and we analyze also the emotional reaction to the taste, to the food. The name is neuroastrophysics, but I hope to talk about that at the end of my presentation. I have only 30 minutes, but anyway, I will try. I want to show a very, very short video about the application of the neuromarketing. In this video, you can find the main instrument, the main tools that we can use in this area. Okay, maybe there is a problem with the connection. I don't know. Anyway, I will send the video to the organization in order to share the video. In this video, it's possible to see many instruments, like the instrument that you can see in this chart. The EEG, very useful instrument to analyze which part of the brain is activated when we stay in front a pack of product. Or when we look at advertising. Eye tracking. The tracking is glasses, for example, very useful for in order to analyze the movement of our head. And in this with this instrument, it's possible to see what the people are looking, and the respiration, skin conductance, heart rate, and face reader. And the face reader software very important and very useful in order to analyze the movement of our muscle of the face. And we know that every movement of our face is linked with one kind of emotion and so on. The EEG, the EMG, electromyographic, and it's a very important instrument for the analysis of the contraction of our muscles and so on. So this is a typical situation when people come in our lab. We use a different application, different tools, and we can divide the neuromarketing, the tools of neuromarketing in different area. There is tools very important for the analysis of metabolic activity. For example, the functional magnetic resonance. This is very important because it's possible with this instrument to go inside in depth of our brain and to understand which part of the brain is linked with some behavior. We have another kind of tools that are very important to analyze the electric activity in the brain. And for example, the electroencephalography, we will see some picture about that later. And then we have the biometric instrument for the activity of our movement of the face, or for the movement of our hair, or in order to evaluate the skin conductance. And the skin conductance is very useful to analyze the intensity of the emotion, like the heart rate and so on. So when we work in this field, we analyze the arousal, the activation of our body, and the valence. The valence is the emotion that is possible to have a positive or negative emotion. And of course, we work with the company, as Giorgio said before, and different kind of companies, industries in different area, ONG too, for example, UNICEF, and other important companies. But our goal is the publication, because I think it's very important in this moment, in particular because this area is new. As I think it's very important to share the correct methodology, the correct tools, the correct application of this new area. So for this reason, I think it's very important to have the opportunity to share the information with the other Center for Research in Neuromanagement and Neuromarketing. So in these years, we work a lot in order to improve our network, international network, and in this moment we are connected with one important lab in USA, 3 in China, in Russia, Spain, India, Poland, Belgium, Lithuania, France, Denmark, and so on. I think it's very important this aspect because maybe there is a little bit more confusion about which kind of procedures, about which kind of methodology is better to analyze the people when they look, for example, advertising, when they look, for example, packaging, and which kind of index of the brain is very useful for a kind of application. So for this reason, for us, it's very important to have a big connection around the world. So there is a very big interest in the last year about the neuromarketing. This is the trend that you can find in Google. And I remember that the first time that one person used the name, the word neuromarketing was 2002. Is very short time in terms of story of science, but we can see also a very important growth of publication in this field, and I think it is a very important indication. So we will have also not only a very important growth of publication and papers and university very interesting in order to improve this knowledge, but I think it's important also to consider the growth of the attention of the industries in this area. Now many companies know very well neuromarketing and they consider the neuromarketing a very useful tools and methodology in combination with the traditional instrument. I think the neuromarketing is a good opportunity to analyze the subconscious, but it's important to analyze the conscious reaction of the people, because our brain is divided into different parts. I will talk about that. So the first time that one person used this term, this word was 2002, and the name of this professor is Hal Smith. And but why we have to use this kind of instrument? Because with this instrument, it's possible to analyze the emotional reaction, and sometimes the emotional reaction is automatic, is unconscious, and as you can see, the real motivation that and the motivation that we use this approach is linked with a very famous sentence from one of the main experts in advertising of the last century. The name was David Ogilvy, very famous in the field of advertising. And in 1963, he said a very important phrase. He said that the real problem that we have in marketing research is that the consumer don't think how they feel. They don't say what they think, and they don't do what they say. This is a very big problem for the marketing people, for the marketing expert, and so on. Because if we divide this sentence in three important parts, we can reflect about this important sentence. He said, consumers don't think how they feel. The meaning is that our brain is activated in the unconscious way. There is a big part of our brain completely automatic, and it's impossible to have consciousness about that. I want to show a very short video. I don't know if it's possible to see the video. I want to ask the team. Okay, maybe I want to share in different way. Maybe in this way. Maybe in this way it's possible to see the video. Okay, we'll try. This is a very short video about one question of a journalist of BBC in London, and he asked to the main expert in neuroscience and in the knowledge of brain, how many part of the brain is conscious and unconscious. It's very interesting, the answer. I hope that it's possible to see. Well, question. So we can become the okay. So we now know that from a very big part of our brain is unconscious, and so it's very difficult to analyze the emotional reaction, the unconscious reaction using the traditional instrument. So I remember you that we had a different Nobel Prize in economy, like Herbert Simon, and he was a winner of the Nobel Prize in 1978, and he said that we are not rational. We use a bounded rationality, and when we decide something, we use only satisfactory solution, not to all information, and so we use many times the emotion to decide, and for this reason it's very important to analyze the emotion. But I remember you that the emotion sometimes was linked with the primitive area of our brain and instinctual area, not so linked with the decision-making process. For many years, one of the main experts in this area said many years ago that for many years we used a sort of cortical snobbery. The meaning is that if you don't analyze the noble cortex, where there is the rationality, it was very difficult to have money to understand that, to study in depth the emotional area of the brain. So for many years, putting together emotion and intelligence was very difficult to do. And now we know a little bit more about our brain, and we know that we have three different brain. Is of course a simplistic description, but it's very useful. We have three different areas. The first one is a reptilian brain. This is the part of the brain instinctual, automatic, unconscious. We have another area of the brain, a very important, limbic system. The name in medical terms, the name is the limbic system. And we have all emotion. We have angry, fear, and so on in this part of the brain. And also this part of the brain is activated in unconscious way. And then we have the rational part of the brain, the cortical part of the brain. So when we study of our consumers, we analyze the emotional area, the limbic system area, because this is very important. So if we compare the two big area, the primary area and the rational area. We know that the primary area is very important when we have to take a very short decision when we are, for example, in a store and we want to take something. We know that many our decisions are taken a very few seconds and using the emotional brain. So if we divide our brain in a conscious area and unconscious area, conscious mind and unconscious mind, it's possible to see why we have to use the neuromarketing tools. Because with the traditional instrument like questionnaire, focus group, we can analyze the opinion of the people. I think this area is also important, but for us is also important the instinctual and emotional reaction of the people. So this is the classical picture about the iceberg of our mind, and if we analyze only the rational part, maybe I can take many error in many activity like advertising and in marketing. So we now know very well that we have two big areas: the basal ganglia, with where there are our emotional limbic system, the cortex area, and we can see that if the planning, if the working memory, if the program, the analysis, the planification of our decision making is in this part, in the cortex part. But many reaction, very short, very fast, and many non-conscious automatic reaction is linked with the basal ganglia. So I remember you that we have another very important, I don't know, there is maybe a problem with my presentation. Yeah, maybe I have to share again the screen. Okay, maybe there is a problem with my screen. Giorgio, do you see my screen now? There is a chart of Daniel Kahneman.
Not yet.
There is some problem with the share. Okay, just a moment. And now? Okay.
Probably Lorenzo will help us.
You can see my...
Now System 1 and System 2 that we are watching this, but probably you have to share not the PowerPoint, but your screen.
Okay, I try again. Okay, and now you can see Daniel Kahneman, System 1, System 2.
Yes, as before. Please touch il bicchierino. Vai in esplosione di presentazione.
No, è condiviso, scusami. Ok. Ah, ho capito. Continua a condividere, ho capito. Ok, I can understand. Ok, just a moment. Ok.
Great.
Ok. Okay. Now you can see the System 1 and System 2.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you. So many decision is taken with our emotion. I want to show a very short example. If I want to buy a t-shirt, usually I spend €5. It's a typical t-shirt, white t-shirt. But if I put in this t-shirt two black line and a logo, maybe the cost is a little bit more high. It's higher. We can send this t-shirt with 30 euro. And if we know that this is a typical t-shirt of a very famous football team, I can sell this t-shirt higher. But if we know that this is a very particular t-shirt, I can change the price and I can have more money. And if I have the sign of the Ronaldo, maybe I can sell the same t-shirt a little bit more. And if I know that this was the t-shirt that Ronaldo used during the Champions League, maybe it's impossible to buy this t-shirt. I know, of course, that now Ronaldo is in Juventus. But anyway, we are talking about the reaction, the people, when there is some emotional aspect of the product, and we wanted to analyze this part. The second part of the phrase, the sentence of David Ogilvy is they don't say what they think. And many people don't say what they think because sometimes they don't want to explain the real reaction of the people, the real reaction in front of some advertising, because they wanted to preserve their self-image and they wanted to give a very positive image of themselves. So many times the people are a little bit liar. No one is racist, no one is sexist, and so on. So for us, it's very important to understand the real reaction of the people. And they don't do what they say, because sometimes they say something, but when they are in a store, the emotion can change the behavior of the people. So with the neuromarketing, it's possible to analyze the reaction of our brain. Now we know that we have some stimuli able to change, to have a very big activation of our brain. For example, the very instinctual and emotional part of our brain. For example, the personal message. If I create a contrast, if I represent a product in a tangible way. Anyway, we now know which are the best way to activate the very old part of the brain, the emotional part. So I want to go to the presentation of the tools, because we have a very short time. And the tools that we can use are very different and very complex. I want to show another video. I hope that in this now it's possible to see. Maybe I use this kind of maybe in this way it's possible to see. If there is problem, Giorgio, please send me a message. This is a very short video about the application of the neuromarketing tools inside the lab and outside, because now it's possible to use mobile tools in order to evaluate the emotional reaction of the people in field. Okay, now we can describe in very short time some tools like eye tracking. With eye tracking, it's possible to use different kind of eye tracker in lab and in outside with the glasses. Very simple to use now. And of course, it's possible to use the classes and also the EEG in together in order to have information about what the people are looking and the reaction of the people. Now we have the static bar. For example, we put this bar in the computer and we can see what the people are looking, and we can use the glasses, and now we can have also the eye tracking inside the tools for the virtual reality. So it's possible to create, for example, virtual retail and virtual self, and we can analyze the reaction of the people when we put the pack in the self, or when we put the people in a virtual environment. So the application for the eye tracking now is very big, because it's possible to analyze what the people are looking when stay in a car or when stay in a store. And we have a different output, and we can see in a short time which kind of output we can have. For example, this is a heat map. When there is a color, there is more active, more fixation. For example, the red color is linked with more fixation, and if we find yellow color, there is less fixation. Where there isn't color, there isn't vision, or the people don't look at this part of the advertising or print advertising in this case. And with this instrument, it's possible to see if one solution is better than the other one, and in order to attract the attention of the people, to attract the vision of the people, of my sample, when we analyze for example, print advertising, or in this case, it's possible to analyze, for example, the efficacy of the advertising inside a web page of a very famous magazine. And you can see that there are very important area for the advertising, and no one look this part of the web page. Of course, the application are different. This is the analysis of the advertising during the competition in the field, beach tennis, and but it's possible to analyze the effect of a new organization, a new layout in a store. And of course, the first image is more effective, the reaction is more positive of the people respect the other one. And of course, we use this instrument also in a big event. For example, a football game. When was the football game? And I hope that we can return as soon as possible inside the stadium. And I want to show another video where it's possible to see the application of this instrument in the stadium, when we analyze the reaction of the people when are looking a game. And because for us it's important to see if the people look also the advertising in the corner, in the border of the vision area.
Di calcio, benvenuti. Questo è Milano, questo è San Siro. Juventus Stadium, questa è una delle sfide classiche del calcio italiano. Lo stadio strapieno in ogni ordine di posto. Lo squadra portato dentro che sì, può calciare testa. La Juventus è in vantaggio. Il pari del Milan. Alla 43.
Okay, now these tools are very very cheap, very comfortable, easy to use, and in this way it's possible to have a very interesting output. For example, in this case, we have a scan path, and in a scan path you can see where there's the first fixation and the last fixation. This is the movement of the eye of one consumer that is trying to buy the bottle in a web page. And of course, we can analyze the reaction of the people to the label, for example, and compare the reaction of the expert and not expert to look, for example, a label of wine. And if we know that there are some area like the indication about the ingredients, very important for the consumer, so we can analyze how many milliseconds people spend to arrive there, and maybe we can change the color, change the position in order to improve the efficacy of the information. In this chart, you can see that the people are looking this web page without anything really able to attract my vision. And in the this other part of the chart, you can see the data from the EEG, electroencephalography. In this way, it's possible to have information about the workload, about the compensation of the information, about the emotion of the people, is it positive or negative, and if the intensity is lower or higher. Anyway, we have a different kind of output. For example, with the tracking, it's possible to have the sequence, how many milliseconds the people spend to arrive there, how many milliseconds the people stay in this area. Of course, it's possible to compare the reaction from man, female, expert, and non-expert. We know that male and female look the stimuli in a very different way. But anyway, we with our student talk about the difference of brain in man and in woman, and we talk about the reaction of people to this kind of stimuli. Of course, with the eye tracking, it's possible to have more other information. For example, the blinking of our eyes, and also the dilation of our pupil. The pupil dilation. The pupil dilation is linked with our activation, and also it's possible to analyze the reaction of our brain with a very, very, very simple instrument like this kind of EEG. And we have a different kind of EEG that's possible to use, depending on the kind of the project. And in this, with this instrument, it's possible to see which part of the brain is activated from the advertising, which kind of waves of our brain. And from these waves, we can have a different specific index. For example, we know, and I will finish my presentation here, we can have information very important about the balance of the emotion, because we know that if we have more activation of the right part of our prefrontal cortex compared to the left part, we have a negative reaction, negative emotion. If we have more activation of the left part of our brain compared to the other one, we have a positive reaction. So in this way, we have information about the emotion, and it's possible if it is positive or negative. And with the heart rate, respiration, skin conductance, pupil dilation, and blinking, we have the intensity. And if it's possible in this way, in this case, it's possible to have information about the low or high intensity of emotion. And another instrument I want to show only this one is the face reader. And with the face reader, it's possible to analyze the movement of our face, and like it's possible to see in this video. And with this face software, face reader software, it's possible to know how many happiness, how many sadness, and so on, how many emotion there are, and the intensity of the emotion, looking the movement of our face. And you know that our face, the movement of our face, is linked with the limbic system, the emotional part of our brain. So we use this instrument in order to analyze the reaction of the people. For example, in order to evaluate the face that or the image that we put in a web page. And I remember you that the new area is the application of the neuromarketing, the neuroscience, and in the virtual reality. And I think that the next step is the application of the neuroscience knowledge and neuroscience tools in neurotesting online. Now we can analyze the emotional reaction of the face using a normal webcam, and but we are working in order to improve the possibility to analyze with the change of the color of our face, to have more information about the heart rate. And now it's possible to use also other instruments in order to evaluate with online channel the emotional reaction of the people when they look at advertising, or when they look at web page, and so on. So the applications are very, very there are many applications, very interesting and fascinating too. Okay, maybe we can have some minutes for questions. Or so there is a question about our knowledge of brain. We know now very important information, knowledge about the brain, and of course it's impossible to have full knowledge about our brain, but we have the main information for the marketing application. And for us is enough to know the reaction of the prefrontal cortex, and to know the function of limbic system, and the link between the limbic system, the emotional area of our brain, and the prefrontal cortex. We decide with the prefrontal cortex, but the prefrontal cortex is influenced by the limbic system. With our instrument, we analyze the some index that can give information about the limbic system, and in this way it's possible to see if one advertising good or no good, if one picture is so able to create activation in our consumers, and so on. Okay, there are other questions?
No more.
Maybe no. Okay, if we don't have any question, we can stop our presentation here. and I hope to show the lab in live and on offline, because it's a very, very interesting area, and the application also for our instrument, our tools and methodology in management area.
Thank you very much, professors, and it's been a real pleasure, and we received a lot of questions and positive feedbacks, so thank you very much. Before I leave you the last sentences in order to close these lectures, I just want to thank you all, the audience, and remind you that we will send you by the end of this week an email with the link to complete our survey and the link to have our materials. So thank you again very much, and I leave you to Professor Russer and Professor Gabrielli for the last sentences of this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome if you decide to come in to our lab, our university.
Yes, please come. We are waiting for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.